Salve galera, Cláudio Tibérios na área aqui no Screen to Me, desta vez falando com produtor, guitarrista, engenheiro de som da Alemanha, Nino Helfrich, grande músico que está preparando um trabalho sensacional e revolucionário. São 13 mulheres de 8 países diferentes e 3 continentes cantando em um álbum todo composto pelo Nino, chamado Shadow Empress. E você deve conferir os detalhes nesta conversa que tivemos com o Nino. Aproveita aí, já se inscreva no canal, também já vá na página dele, tanto no Instagram quanto no YouTube, e aguarde, como eu estou aguardando ansiosamente, por este material. É isso aí.
Hi, my name is Nino Helfrich. I'm a guitarist and I'm a mixing engineer slash producer from Hamburg, Germany. Who made a pretty funny album with 13 different vocalists from all over the world. As a guitarist, I've played in lots of bands, in the opera, Iron Angels. Some of you may know that band, legendary speed metal band from the 80s from Germany. Currently playing for Ex-Eths and for Ian Gods, which is my new band. I've released a couple of solo albums, played in a bunch of other bands before that, way too many at that point, and I'm running a mixing mastering studio, which is called Skulltone Studios, which is specialized for metal bands, and we're working with bands from all over the world. So I think, especially when it comes to studios and stuff, there are very few producers in Germany who are actually like me, focusing entirely on metal and can do everything from modern metal to old school stuff to black metal to death metal and cover such a wide range. But the thing that's been holding me back, I mean, I don't want to blame anything or anyone. I guess at the end of the day you always hold yourself back the most. You just have to be honest to yourself. Is the song really as good as you think it is? Is the video as good as you think it is? Have you really done everything promotion wise? Have you reached out to everyone where you were able to reach out, and did you really perform well? Or are you just telling that to yourself, and in reality you gave 30% of what you could have given? So I guess you are always holding yourself back the most. But if we want to talk about other people or things in the industry, it's the music industry. There are a lot of unreliable people that come too late. Everyone has that bandmate. People who promise you they will work with you on this or that and deliver this and that, and then it arrives 3 months later, or someone just ghosts you. That's normal stuff. It's the music industry. You have to deal with that stuff. But I would say you are your own worst enemy. So that's probably the thing that's holding everyone back the most. Their own discipline and their own work ethic. This project has been in the works for a couple of years, and it's pretty exactly the Corona pandemic. I've done albums in the past, solo albums, instrumentally. In 2016 I released one. In 2017 I released an album with guest singers, with Björn Strid and Chris Clancy. So all of them were males, because back in the day I used to play that instrumental stuff live, also as an opener for Ginger once, and people, they were impressed with all the technical shredding, but obviously that's instrumental stuff and they wanted lyrics, so they kept bugging me about doing something with lyrics. That's where the second album came from. Then I did a version of that in an instrumental form, which was called Quiet, came out in, I think, even 2020. And once that was out, the pandemic was there and everyone was watching Netflix and I was sitting in front of Pro Tools. And at that point, it's been a while since I had written my own music. And I was in bands that already had several albums out where I joined later on as a guitarist, but I wasn't the main songwriter and I wasn't playing 7-string as I like to do. So the idea came up, hey, what have I not done yet at that point? And I was good friends with the guys in Critical Mass. That's a former band of Britta Goertz, who's now playing for Hi-Res or singing for Hi-Res. And, if you have access to someone like that, she's the best extreme metal vocalist, definitely the best female one, and I would also say you can throw in all the males there as well in Germany, period. That was the first person that came to mind. Man, I haven't done a song with screaming and a female voice, because at that point I had worked with a soprano, a vocalist, a female one with the opera. But the heavy stuff. Also the vocal album I did in 2017 was very vocal or clean singing heavy. Not that much screams on there. So that's where the idea came to maybe do an EP. And funny enough is that all the heavy songs came in the beginning. So the one with Rachel Asper, the one with Vicky Psarakis, the one with Britta Goertz, the one with Iris Gosen. It's like I've started this project without planning to do an album, and I did all the heavy stuff, all the heavy guitar stuff where you also showcase a bit of technicality. I guess a couple of years ago I was more on the guitar side, now I'm more on the producer side. But yeah, that's where it snowballed. And all the cleaner songs, all the more melodic songs came on later when I realized, hey, this is something cool that we are doing here, and this can't just be an EP. Because this album very much is like a joke. You can tell it once and then it's funny, and if you try to do it again, it loses this excitement. So this is something that has to be done correctly once, and that's why there are 13 vocalists on there. But that was not planned in the beginning. And also the idea to just have females on there. Britta was the starting point. In the beginning I probably thought about mixing it up. But I remember that we were at a TV show, and that's where I asked Britta the first time about this idea, and she was on board immediately, and I owe it to her pretty much, because from there on it was easier to get the next person on board and the next one. Man, the whole composition side of this is, people have no idea how complicated this was. There were vocalists that got 2 or 3 or even 4 different tracks until we had the one that suited. Because you have always the problem, what do you have first? Do you write the music for a specific vocalist? And then you contact that vocalist if you don't already have a connection. Does the person then have time? Do they like the song? Do they want to make changes? Or do you have the person on board first, which I will tell you is rare. Unless you have a connection, you have worked with that person beforehand. It's quite hard to just contact someone and say, hey, I'm doing this project. Do you want to join? Okay, I'll give you a song in 6 months. That is very rare. So in most cases, you kind of have to do your research, have to figure out, okay, who am I excited about? Which vocalist do I want to work with? And then, if I was writing for the vocalist, what would I write? And then, it's a lot of back and forth, Then vocalists come and they think the song is cool, but they want to make changes all of a sudden. And, from there on, the song develops. Some songs also ended up with different vocalists. So there are songs that went through 2 or 3 vocalists. because also the lineup changed over the course of this time. And luckily, the final lineup is by far the best one, which I'm very proud of and very thankful that those are the 13 women that did an amazing job. The inspiration for this project is pretty easy. The 13 women that I had the pleasure to work with, every single one of them inspired the hell out of me. I listened to a lot of music during that time, thinking about, okay, which direction do I want to go in? Obviously, I have my own style, I have my own ideas, stuff that I like, stuff that I don't like. But if you write for 13 different vocalists, if you listen to the album, you will hear that. In 1 second you have the most brutal breakdown in the world, and the next song just starts with a clean acoustic guitar. It is a lot of variety. Somehow it still works as an album, because it is my production, it's my guitar playing, it's my songwriting, but it's still from song to song very different. And I think once someone listens to the album, they understand that I specifically wrote for the vocalists. You don't have a clean singing vocalist like Laura Guldemund singing over a deathcore song. And you also don't have a Britta Gertz singing over a ballad. So obviously the women on this album inspired everything that I did on that album. And that's the cool thing, because I would not have come up with the music that I did come up with without knowing who I'm writing for. So big inspiration there. Absolutely. I remember 2 managers where the vocalist actually wanted to do the album, and they simply didn't allow it to happen. There was actually 2 managers. There was also a vocalist from the US, which is pretty well known, who absolutely wanted to do it, and last minute the label stepped in and said, no, you're not doing this. To be honest, I would have imagined that more labels would do this. It was in the end just one. More people who said no. Let me think. To be honest, everyone was pretty much excited about this project. It didn't work out with everyone. In the beginning, there were a lot more newcomers, a lot more lesser known vocalists on there. And the problem though is I can't fly to every country. We are speaking about the pandemic, where I did the majority of the recording and writing. So I did travel to some countries, like Denmark, for example. For the mastering process, I flew to Sweden. It becomes pretty difficult. So unless you have a pro-level vocalist who can also record on their own, organizing a studio for someone in a different country gets complicated. And that's why in the beginning there were more newcomer vocalists. I would call them newcomers. And for different reasons it didn't work out. And like vocalists like Laura Guldemund, for example, who can easily record on her own, came in very late. And actually that way the lineup became more and more professional, simply because you can't do such a project without having a couple of highly professional vocalists on there who can track on their own. About the lyrics on this album are not connected. That is another very big topic. Who's writing the lyrics? And I must say, after having worked with a lot of males and now a whole lot of females, and also the experience that I have from the studio, I feel like the percentage of women that want to write their own lyrics is a little bit higher. Very, very rarely they ask for a songwriter or pre-written lyrics, and when they do, it usually was because they were on a big tour. And, you know, time pressure, that sort of thing. So most of the vocalists wrote on their own, and they didn't know what the others were writing. So each song has its own lyrics. They are not connected. As long as this is not something, you know, going into a completely wrong political direction, or something racist, something that you shouldn't be singing about, then I'm pretty much cool with it, whether it's a love story or something about the metal scene or whatever, something personal. But I think that makes it even more interesting. I always ask the vocalists to do something in their own language, which we discovered didn't work out that well with many languages. I was very, very happy when it did work out with Rachel Asper, who did a part in French, which is awesome. One of my favorite sections on the album. But we have plenty of lyric videos, and if you have so many writers, so different styles, but it's still somehow all connected, just because it's been produced together. It should be very interesting for people to check out the lyrics as well, and check out the entire album. And please, at the end, I also want to mention, please check out the vocalists and their bands, because you may not know every single one of them, but I can assure you that every single one of them is freaking awesome. These are, from the very first to the very last song, they are all fantastic in what they're doing. They're all different, and they deserve all the attention in the world. They don't necessarily need that attention from me. There are some huge names on there. But make sure to check them out. They are all great. Hello, Brazilian metal fans. Unfortunately, I never had the pleasure to play in your country, and we almost did. I know that Iron Angel played in Brazil a couple of times. We were planning actually to do another tour there, but then Corona hit. So maybe one day. I heard a lot of good things about playing in your country, though. My former bandmates have told me a lot of stories, and they loved it in South America. So hopefully one day we'll still meet. Probably not with this project. It's a little bit difficult to tour with this, with 13 vocalists, but just stay heavy. And thanks for checking the album out, checking the interview out.